Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mehrob Fatemi. We got a packed show lined up for you guys today. Starting right off the top, we're going to talk a little bit about the Golden State Warriors-Houston Rockets matchup last night. A massive Game 4 there. The Warriors taking a 3-1 commanding lead over the Houston Rockets. A must-win game for the Houston Rockets that most likely spells their defeat in this series, whether it's in 5 games and 6 games. But for a young Houston Rockets team, this Golden State Warriors team might just be too much for them to handle offensively, and similar to what we're seeing with the Detroit Pistons as well as the I'm blanking on the other team. Jesus. As well as the Orlando Magic in the Eastern Conference, with how young they are, with how potent they are defensively. When they go up against offensive teams like the Boston Celtics, like the Golden State Warriors, they have a tough time matching up with them offensively and keeping up with that pace, making especially down the stretch when it comes down to experience mattering more than ever down the stretch in fourth quarters in close games. We saw it last night with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry. We see it with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And the Houston Rockets could be done in this series. We're gonna recap that whole game though before we get into any of the who's gonna win this series, who's gonna win that series. So, that's how we're gonna start the show, and then from there we're gonna take a look at we're gonna see. Funny enough, we're going to keep talking about the Warriors. We're going to see who actually has who has a better chance of coming back from 3-1 down. Is it the Los Angeles Lakers or is it the Houston Rockets in this series? We're going to talk a little bit about both of them, how the matchups end up landing, how the cards end up falling. And obviously, we'll talk a little bit more during that segment about both of these teams. And from there, we're going to take a look at the Cleveland Cavaliers finishing off their series sweep on the Miami Heat last night. What's next for the Miami Heat? We're hearing rumors about Pat Riley possibly stepping down as the executive for the Miami Heat, one of the top premier executives of the Eastern Conference and in general in NBA history. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then, honestly, from there, we're going to talk a little bit about Game 5 tonight between the Clippers and Denver Nuggets, and then preview the other 3-1 series going on across the NBA later tonight. But before I move any further, I'd like to remind you guys to please like and follow the show for more GSMC Sports Network content. Also, we get a number of questions that come from viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net. This puts your question at the top of the list, so I see it, and it also really helps out the show. Again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net for all your questions and comments. But getting right into it here, we had one of the best games of these playoffs last night between the Golden State Warriors and Houston Rockets. The Warriors obviously are favorites to win this series based off their experience. Obviously, they have Steph Curry on their team. They just added playoff Jimmy Butler in a midseason trade and have been a completely different team since the trade transpired. Playoff Jimmy Butler has meant everything for this organization, and having him back in the lineup after him missing Game 3, getting injured in Game 2, being out in Game 3, Steph Curry really carrying the show there, but ultimately Golden State also winning that game. This game was absolutely crucial for the Houston Rockets. Down 2-1. I apologize for that. Down 2-1. Trying to come back and trying to even up the series, going back to Houston in desperation mode, trying to even up the series, because for a young team like this team, going down 3-1 would most likely end their season, most likely end their playoff hopes. In a game where Steph Curry only had 17 points in the game, it was honestly the play of Jimmy Butler and Brandon Podziemski. Brandon Podziemski, I was here on this show yesterday previewing this series, and I said they need somebody like a Brandon Podziemski, a Buddy Hield, to step up if Jimmy Butler is not in the role. I thought Jimmy Butler is going to be out until Game 5, Game 6 most likely, based off his injury, just simply because of how much pain it looked how painful it looked, as well as the reports that came out that he has barely any mobility right now. To have almost no mobility, not even referring to painkillers, not being able to, when you're running, jumping, shooting the basketball, playing physical playoff basketball, if you have almost no mobility, being able to move, what do you expect it to do in this league? So that's just the current situation for Jimmy Butler, and I was shocked to see him playing last night. But Brandon Podziemski stepping up in a massive, massive game for him. A game that we've been really looking for Brandon Podziemski to have a statement game. We saw a bunch of them in the regular season, and as a young player, as like Brandon Podziemski is, we knew it was going to take some time for him to get his feet under him, get some confidence in his shot, deal with a little bit about how the playoff games the game of basketball slows down in the playoffs. Dealing with the little bit of physicality, dealing with the defensive prowess that the Houston Rockets wing defenders have. Overall, we knew I thought it was going to take some time, but we knew it was eventually coming. We knew it was coming. We just didn't know when. And he arrived last night in Game 4 in a big way and delivered in a much-needed win. And they were up 2-1 in the series, so there's an argument to be had that the Warriors had the momentum and they were on a trajectory to win this series. But Podziemski kind of sucked the life out of Houston last night. Whether Houston wins Game 5 and forces a Game 6, I don't think this series gets pushed past Game 6 now. In a series I originally thought to go 7 games in favor of Golden State, we're now cut. It's now going to be cut to 6, if not 5 games. So that's just my take on it. I personally think this Warriors team is on one of the best teams in the league right now. They're on a different level than almost any other team. They're two-headed monster, and Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, and their ability to create their own shots is like something I'm trying to compare it to something to a duo I've ever seen. To play the way they have, I mean, in a way, they're playing in a way. Jimmy, if I say this, you guys are gonna crucify me. So I may not say what was on the thought that was on the tip of my tongue. But this Golden State Warriors team is overall one of the best teams in the league. And for them to deal with this Houston Rockets defense, this stifling defense that brought them to the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, that brought them to 53 wins in the regular season, it's nothing short of remarkable. And the turnaround that this Warriors team has had, they continue to control their own destiny and continue to right the critics wrong. There were a lot of people that picked the Houston Rockets to knock off the Golden State Warriors in this series, and it's just good to see. It's just good to see to see this Warriors team just turn that whole narrative around in their own favor. And I don't know. This was an unbelievable game. Draymond Green starting it hot, hitting 2 threes back-to-back to start out the game. And then it was just the pick and roll between Draymond Green, Brandon Podziemski, and Steph Curry. Late in the game, it was the Jimmy Butler show in the fourth quarter, him getting to the free throw line and hitting massive threes. Just being overall clutch, as we know Jimmy Butler to be. One of the funnier moments of the game, Jimmy Butler getting into the face of Dillon Brooks, something we usually see vice versa, Dillon Brooks trying to get into the head of the star players. It was Jimmy Butler just standing next to him on the free throw line. I believe it was Steph Curry shooting free throws late in the second quarter, and Jimmy Butler just barking at him. I would repeat what he said in that moment, but I also don't want anybody to get. We just got to keep it a little family friendly here. So those clips are everywhere online, but it was a funny moment. I would 100% go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. But Jimmy Butler finishing with 27 points in this one, going 12 of 12 from the free throw line, 7 of 12 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3-point range. He's still just he's not using the 3-point shot as much, but when he does utilize it, he tries to be as effective and consistent as he can with it. And yeah, this Warriors team is just looks like they're built for a deep playoff run right now. If Brandon Podziemski can continue to grow into that number 3 role, going into the next round of the playoffs, whether they face the Los Angeles Lakers or face the Minnesota Timberwolves, we'll talk a little bit about that in the next segment. I think I like the Warriors' chances in any series, really. No, I like them in any series. Even in the finals, if they went up against Boston, I still think Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Brandon Podziemski, I think this team can beat anybody. Plain and simple. They can beat anybody. They can go all the way and win the whole West. They can win the NBA championship this year. And if they did, that's a whole other conversation in terms of Steph Curry, where it lands him in the conversation, where it lands Jimmy Butler and his legacy argument. Overall, there's a lot of aspects of this story, and it's a great story unfolding in front of our very eyes right now with this Golden State Warriors team. But yeah, the true question is, where does the Houston Rockets go from here? And while that's a little topic for another day, we can touch on it a little bit now. I think Ime Udoka continues to grow with this team. I think they definitely need another offensive star to pair with Jalen Green, to pair with Amen Thompson and Alperen Sengun. I think they have a great young core group of guys. Whether they bring in a Kevin Durant, a Ja Morant, maybe a Giannis Antetokounmpo, a Damian Lillard if he's still on the market, if he ends up leaving Milwaukee after his Achilles injury a couple days ago in Game 4 in their series against the Indiana Pacers. Regardless of what happens, the Houston Rockets have a bright future in front of them, regardless of how this series plays out. It feels very eerily similar to how the Sacramento Kings series went back in 2023. I watched over the weekend. That's literally the thought that came to my head, is how eerily similar this playoff series reminds me in terms of physicality, shooting wise. Steph Curry being able to create a shot and destroying the opposition's momentums. It's just eerily similar to how the Warriors dismantled the Sacramento Kings back in 2023. And this time the Warriors have Jimmy Butler with them, so they're even more of a potent offense, even more of a potent defense, even more of a potent overall team. That is how good this Warriors team is right now. And major props to them. And the X factor of this series will continue to be Brandon Podziemski in my eyes, I'd say. Even though we know Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler can carry the load whenever they want. Brandon Podziemski, just great to see him as a young player continuing to grow and prosper into that number 3 role, into that Austin Reeves-esque role for the Golden State Warriors. But I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at we're going to ask the question, who has a better chance of coming back from 3-1 down? Is it the Houston Rockets in this series, or is it the Los Angeles Lakers against the Minnesota Timberwolves? I know we're talking about the Lakers. We have been talking about a little bit about the Lakers, but I promise this is going to be a real segment here. We're going to give a dive. We're going to give a deep dive look into both of these teams, into both of these series, how the matchups have been playing out. We've been talking a lot about the Lakers these last couple days, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Houston Rockets as well. I'll take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at those two series. Don't go anywhere.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mehrob Fatemi. Getting into our next segment here, we're going to take a look at who has a better chance of coming back from a 3-1 deficit. Is it the Los Angeles Lakers against the Minnesota Timberwolves, or is it this Houston Rockets team going up against the Golden State Warriors? Who has a better chance, and what are the matchups going on both sides? Who has a better whose matchup plays in their favor better overall? But before I move any further, I'd like to remind you guys to please like and follow the show for more GSMC Sports Network content. Also, we get a number of questions that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I see it. It also really helps out the show. Again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net for all your questions and comments. And I've said it before, you guys are a big part of what we do here at the GSMC Sports Network. Let us know what we're doing well. Let us know what we can be doing better. Let us know anything and everything, because we want to make sure we're giving out the best product that we can, making sure that you guys want to hear more of what you guys want to hear in general. So overall, just let us know what how we're doing in the comments. And if you guys have any questions at all for me something to touch on, a question to ask me, give my thoughts on, please don't be shy to ask in the comments. So that will be that. And everything is greatly appreciated, as always. But getting right back into it here, we're here for this question right now. This segment is devoted to who has a better chance of coming back from 3-1 down in their series. Is it the Los Angeles Lakers or the Houston Rockets? Is it LeBron James and Luka Doncic, or is it the defense of Jalen Green and the coaching of the defense of Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, the young core group of guys in Houston, incredibly well coached by Ime Udoka? Who do we trust more in these playoff series? I have a feeling you guys know where I'm going to go with this. I just want you guys to know I'm not here to just showboat about the Lakers and just give them all their flowers as much as I want to. As much as I thought the Los Angeles Lakers were going to go on a deep playoff run this year, I have to be real. They have been nothing short of disappointing in this series. They've been nothing short of disappointing. The series lead is 3-1, and as much as you want to say Game 3 Luka was sick, or Game 4 LeBron got screwed on the swipe down of the ball that got called a foul with 45 seconds to play in the game, that ultimately put, I believe it was Anthony Edwards on the free throw line, or the whatever you want to call it, however you want to slice it, the series is 3-1 down. And I kind of want to give props here to the Houston Rockets. I think as well as the Lakers are offensively, as well as much star power that the Lakers have overall, I think the Rockets as a whole have just a better team. And I've lamented this about the Lakers before. They're just incredibly top heavy. They lack bench. They lack role player scorers, role playing defenders. They barely score over 100 points a game. I think they've averaged low hundreds, high 90s per game in this series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Regardless of what it may be, the Houston Rockets deserve a lot of props. They showed out in Game 1. We know they did. Well, actually, Game 2, I apologize. When Jalen Green went off for 38 points, that is the one key piece of concern I have about this Houston Rockets team. I seriously believe that they are one legitimate, reliable, consistent scorer away from being one of the top teams in this Western Conference. When you have a guy like Amen Thompson that can guard anybody from the 1 through 3, when you have a guy like Alperen Sengun who can guard the 4 and 5 and be a dominant force in the paint against anybody, We saw it last night. They put the ball in Alperen Sengun's hands to possibly tie and win, or to possibly win the game against the Golden State Warriors last night. When you have an NBA champion like Fred VanVleet, who's a seasoned veteran, when you have a young, prospering, seriously talented, competitive head coach like Ime Udoka, this team can compete against anybody. They really can. They unfortunately got a tough draw against the Warriors speak for themselves. Steph Curry, 4 rings. Steve Kerr, at least 6 rings as a coach and a player, I believe, off the top of my head. At least 6. Draymond Green, 4 rings. You have Jimmy Butler, who's been to multiple NBA finals when he's been counted out, when he's carried a team to the NBA finals, when he was from his days back in Miami. You have a young, growing, prospering Brandon Podziemski. They just got a tough draw. That's the truth. That's the truth of the matter in Houston right now. So that's the side of Houston, how they can come back from 3-1 down. I still give them a chance to do it. But I'm going to have to play the Uno reverse card. I set it up pretty well, and I'm going to have to play the card. I think the Los Angeles Lakers have a better chance of coming back from 3-1 down. And I only say that because star power matters in the NBA playoffs. As much as I love well-rounded teams, and it matters, it wins you games, it keeps you competitive in games. But down the stretch of games, when you need a bucket, when you need a guy to go down and get you a bucket, to get you a basket, to score the basket, put the ball in the hole, get to the free throw line. Who are you counting out? Are you counting out Luka Doncic? The guy that carried the Dallas Mavericks to the NBA Finals last year, even though they had a well-rounded team around him last year, even though they had Kyrie Irving, absolutely. But Luka Doncic was averaging 30-plus points a game throughout the playoffs last year, before the NBA Finals. But even in the NBA Finals, he didn't, outside of his turnovers, he didn't have a bad finals. He kept the Mavericks competitive, mostly competitive at least 2 of those 5 games, 3 of those 5 games. I believe there was at least one where they got blown out, absolutely, or 2. I believe it was game 1 and game 5 when they got blown out. But games 2 through 4, they stayed relatively competitive, and in the game that they won in game 4 back in Dallas. But yeah, you cannot count out Luka Doncic in the playoff series. He can go off whenever he wants. If he has an opportunity, if he still has a chance, you cannot count him out. You have to be, Anthony Edwards has to come out, whether it's in game 5, if he wants to shut down the confidence quick, fast, and in a hurry, put the foot on the Lions' neck. If he wants to do that, that is my recommendation to Anthony Edwards, because do not let this Lakers team get one. If they get one, yes, Minnesota is still a tough game. Game 6 back in Minnesota is still a very tough game. And I'm still picking Anthony Edwards to win this. I think the series ends in 6 games between the Lakers and between the Lakers and the Timberwolves. I apologize for that. But I think the star power of the Lakers is going to keep them in this series, going to keep them interesting. Whether LeBron James, are we going to see one last hoorah of greatness from LeBron James? I mean, he's 40. We did see him have a 38-point game in Game 3 when Luka Doncic was sick. I believe he had 27 in Game 4, a double-double, 27 and 12. Yeah, LeBron can still, I don't know if he can go off for 40. I'm not saying he can do that. I don't think he's going to go off for 30 plus, but can I say he can do 25 and 12 with Luka going off for 38, 10 and 7 with Austin Reeves pitch. If Austin Reeves can figure this game out offensively, he has been the missing factor for this Lakers team. I don't understand what's going on. I don't know if it's just game 3 and game 4. I don't know if it's the defense that they're playing on him. I don't know if it's the high pick and roll press that they're playing on Austin Reeves that's putting a cap on LeBron James and Luka Doncic being able to facilitate the offense better and get the offense rolling between those two or three in general. But you need Austin Reeves at his best especially in Game 5. If you want obviously every game you need to win, but if you want even a sliver of a chance, you need to win Game 5. The Lakers have to gain some momentum, gain some confidence in Game 5. Rui Hachimura, he played his heart out in Game 4, pitching in 23 points, third leading scorer for this Lakers team. He did the best that he could for the Lakers, being a great role-playing scorer, pitching in as many points as he could for this Lakers team overall. I'm not blaming Rui Hachimura at all in that Game 4 loss, but I still think that he needs to continue to step up. I think that the biggest X factor in this series, well, there's two. Jackson Hayes has been getting bullied in this series by Rudy Gobert, getting into constant foul trouble. If he can limit that, I think that would help the Lakers. I think if Austin Reeves can get his shot going, if he can get his offensive game going, that would be a tremendous help to LeBron James and Luka Doncic. And then it's after those two, yeah, you can say, can Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe Vincent get it going off the bench? But how much are you really expecting here? We've seen it all playoffs. Sometimes they go off, one of them goes off for 12 points or 8 points. If they can go off for 8 points apiece, just go off for 8 points apiece, get a couple baskets, get to the free throw line a couple times. That's all we need from those role players in general. That's all you really need from the role players in LA. Unfortunately, that's just the state of this Los Angeles Lakers team. They hold what I like to call negative bench. Negative bench. Not zero, negative. When you have games, when you have your starters, when JJ Redick plays the starters in Game 4 in Minnesota, all 5 starters in the entire second half, it's because he doesn't trust the bench. It's because you have negative bench. Because he can't trust you in big moments. Because he knows the starters, regardless of how tired they are, he knows that they can step up in big moments and at least keep the tide going, keep the momentum rolling in their favor. Whether you want to say they were leading the whole game with their starters, it was a must-win game, this, that, and the other. I get it. But in any coach, we've seen it multiple times. Coaches use their rotations at least 7-man deep. They use 2 guys, 3 guys off the bench because it gives their starters rest. It gives them time to relax, catch their wind back, get a sip of water, and get right back into it. Get right back into the action refreshed. That is why you need breaks in the NBA playoffs. And that second half, if this series goes to a Game 7, that second half of Game 4 may come back to bite this Los Angeles Lakers team. Another reason why I'm saying the Lakers are not going to come back. But the question is, who has a better chance? I have to give it to the Lakers. That's just my opinion. And I think the Lakers have the most to prove if they can come back in this series. That's my take on it. It's close. It's very close. Rockets defense, Lakers star power. Rockets better overall team all around. Lakers very top heavy and better offensively. Going up against a less offensive team in the Minnesota Timberwolves, regardless of how you want to slice it. Anthony Edwards going off for 43 points, I get it. Julius Randle going off for 25 points, I get it. Jaden McDaniels having two 25-plus point games in Game 4 going off for 16 points. I get it. Naz Reid, I get it. In general, the Rockets have to go up against a better, well-rounded team, I think, at the Golden State Warriors. And if that matchup happens between the Warriors and the Timberwolves, I'm picking the Warriors in 7 games. That's just my take on it. Or 7? I might say 6. Just because I think Jimmy Butler is going to cause them a whole bunch of problems. But we'll see how that ends up transpiring. That's my take on it. Well, I'll have more of a preview for the Los Angeles Lakers tomorrow. There is one side of this that I'm not touching on right now, just because I want to save it. I'm saving my ace. My ace is in my back pocket. I got to save it for tomorrow for the preview, because it's the last time where I'm going to be able to talk about it before the game. So I want to hold my ace in my back pocket until then. Tune into the show same time, 9 a.m. tomorrow if you want to hear about that. But before I move it, not before I move any further, I'm going to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the Cleveland Cavaliers completing their sweep on the Miami Heat last night. That was a big matchup. Both seeds now sweeping their competition in the first round. We're going to take a look at the Cleveland Cavaliers and what's possibly next for this Miami Heat squad. Don't go anywhere.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mehrob Fatemi. Getting right into our next segment here, we're going to talk a little bit about the Cleveland Cavaliers knocking off the Miami Heat in the first round, officially completing their sweep of the first round. We honestly expected it from a viewership standpoint with how dominant the Cleveland Cavaliers have been in the Eastern Conference, with how inconsistent this Miami Heat team has been since Jimmy Butler was traded. Game 1 and Game 2, we absolutely saw a lot of competitive basketball. Tyler Hero doing his best to keep his team in it. But the depth of this Cleveland Cavaliers team, two things. The depth of the Cleveland Cavaliers was too much for this Heat team to handle in general. When you can go 5, 6, 7 man deep that can all shoot almost 35% from 3-point range outside of Jared Allen. But even if you count out Jared Allen and go from the starting 5, 6 out of the 7 guys can shoot probably over 35, if not probably closer to 38%, 38% and better from 3-point range. So when you have that going up against a Miami Heat squad with like a Tyler Hero obviously is great, Bam Adebayo, but after that you have Davion Mitchell, the rookie, I believe his name is Don Ware. I always forget his first name. I apologize. You just have a young group of guys in Miami. Dante Highsmith, like you just have a young group of guys that are just continuing to grow and continuing to figure out what's next for them, how they can continue to grow as a team. And they're just continuing to find their identity. It feels like they're growing into the Heat culture as a scrappy, gritty, team basketball kind of team. But they're missing their certified shot maker. On top of that, Bam Adebayo is really neutralized in this series. When you have Bam Adebayo going up against two guys in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, fending them both off by himself, what are you expecting him to do? He's going to get out rebounded. He's going to get dominated in the post. He's going to be looked to be exploited, and that is one thing that the Cleveland Cavaliers did with Kenny Atkinson. They looked to exploit as much as possible Bam Adebayo, as much as possible Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero guarding Donovan Mitchell was the biggest mismatch I've probably seen all playoff long. How do you even, that is just the matchup that ended up, that's the matchup that the Heat had to work with. But that is what we like to call barbecue chicken in the NBA world. It's, you look at it and it's just easy. It was too easy. It was too easy for Donovan Mitchell. It was too easy for the Cleveland Cavaliers team as a whole. And they finished off the NBA sweep. They finished off the sweep on the number 7 seed or number 8 seed in the Eastern Conference. The Miami Heat being the first 10 seed to make it out of the play-in tournament. So major props to them. They tried to fight back as much as they could in the first 2 games down in Cleveland, but it just felt like when it got down to Miami, especially after they lost that game 3 in demoralizing fashion, it just looked like it just sucked the life out of them. And when you lose 138-83, when you go down 43-17 in the first quarter, when you go down 72-39 at halftime, you're a demoralized squad. And I think anybody in this chat would agree with me when I say that. Another aspect to this that is starting to get some traction, a little bit, some rumors. I've seen a couple of them every now and again. Nothing reported, I don't think, unless it's been reported this morning after the series. I haven't seen. I tried to look for it. I didn't see anything about it. These are just rumors, so do not crucify me if I'm completely wrong. But with the loss of Jimmy Butler in Miami, with what really looks like a culture change now in Miami, there have been some whispers of possibly Pat Riley stepping down as the executive of the Miami Heat. Could that also include Eric Spoelstra leaving the team? I know Eric Spoelstra, obviously Pat Riley bringing in Spoelstra back in early 2010s. I believe it might have been 2010. It might have been 2012. I believe he was an assistant coach in 2012 when LeBron won his first title, and then in 2013 he was the head coach, and Pat Riley went up to the executive room into the front office. I believe that's right. But what happens if Pat Riley steps down? Does he retire from the NBA? He is getting a little bit older now, but Pat Riley is still one of the premier executives in the NBA. He's the guy that built the culture there. He was the original head coach there when Dwayne Wade won their title. That also might have been what I was thinking of when Eric Spoelstra was an assistant coach. I apologize. I got to fact check that. But he won the NBA championship when he was young. As a coach, he won back-to-back, at least one, if not back-to-back titles as an executive, bringing LeBron James, being the cultivate. Maybe he wasn't the originator of the plan, but he was the executive when LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh decided to all come down, or when LeBron James and Chris Bosh decided to pair up with Dwayne Wade down in Miami to build that ultimate big three, the original big three of the NBA. Overall, he's going to go down into NBA. He's going to go down into the Hall of Fame, not only as a coach, but also as an executive. 100%. If, what's his name? If Jerry West can go down into the Hall of Fame as an Hall of Fame executive, Pat Riley absolutely deserves it 1,000% to be in that conversation. So major props to him. If he decides to step down, maybe he might go to I don't know exactly where he's going to go. Maybe he goes to a team like New York, to the Knicks. Even though they do still have Scott Perry there, I don't think they're going to get rid of him. I'm just trying to think of another team off the top of my head. There's no way he goes to the Lakers. There's no way that they fire Rob Pelinka as their executive there. So overall, I think he most likely retires from the NBA. Eric Spoelstra, he most likely leaves as well. I'd say if that ends up transpiring the way I'm saying it right now, that is probably the way it ends up happening. But that's my take on the Miami Heat. From a player standpoint, they have a good duo in Hero and Bam Adebayo. Davion Mitchell's coming on as a premier wing defender, not like an Amen Thompson, but similar to like a Marcus Smart kind of guy. And then you also have the young rookie. Can I please figure out this kid's first name, please? Kevin Ware, or Khalil Ware. I apologize, guys. Khalil Ware. He's a 7-foot center who's continuing to grow into this league. He had a great first half. He had a great rookie season in what was honestly a kind of a shallow rookie draft class. But Khalil Ware was pretty good this rookie season, finishing off as a good rebounder. If he continued to grow as a scorer, growing into the paint, build up his strength, his physicality in the paint, so he can go up against the maybe not the Jokic's, but the Clint Capellas of the world, the Franz Wagners of the world, the Jonas Valanciunas, the Alperen Senguns. If he can grow into that Alperen Sengun type conversation with Bam Adebayo, it could be similar to what the Cleveland Cavaliers have right now. If Tyler Hero can continue to grow as a scorer, if they can add another scorer to this team, I think it would absolutely exponentially grow their opportunities as a team. So that's just my take. I think the Miami Heat have a good base, but without Jimmy Butler, without that number one legitimate scorer, I don't think Tyler Hero is there yet. Is at that level to be that primary scorer for this team. He needs a running mate. He needs another guy with him. Whether it's John Morant, whether it's Damian Lillard, get another guard over there to help out Tyler Hero from a floor general scoring standpoint. And I think it would exponentially help the Miami Heat because they have the guys to grow with. They just need another guy to pair with their core to build another possibly contending franchise. That's just my take on it overall. But yeah, the Cleveland Cavaliers moving on to the second round to face the winner of the Pacers and the Milwaukee Bucks series. And we'll get a little into that a little bit later into the show because it is a little bit of a quiet matchup, but I won't talk about the second round yet. I have a take on it that I've been saving as well. I've honestly been teasing it throughout the NBA playoffs, since the NBA playoffs started, because when I made my bracket, I saw this matchup possibly I saw these two teams on a collision course, and I was very excited to see it. We'll talk about that later, probably next week or so, or later in the show. I'll touch on it a little bit. But I'm going to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at possibly the biggest playoff game of these NBA playoffs in general. Game 5 between the Denver Nuggets and Los Angeles Clippers. 3 out of the 4 games have been decided by, I believe, 4 points. 1 game went to overtime. One of them was a buzzer beater, and then the other was just it came down to the wire of the game, but ultimately free throws in game 2 being the winner for the Los Angeles Clippers. But game 5 of a 2-2 series. It's a best of 3 now between these two teams. Obviously the Los Angeles Clippers being one of the hottest teams in the NBA. The Denver Nuggets still being NBA champions 2 years ago, firing their head coach a week before the playoffs. Still hold the best player in the league in Nikola Jokic. Still have Jamal Murray. Still have Michael Porter Jr. Still have a great group of guys around him. So yeah, I'm going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to preview that game because it is going to be must-watch TV. Oops, sorry.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mehrob Fatemi. Getting into our next segment here, we're going to talk a little bit about the Los Angeles Clippers squaring off against the Denver Nuggets tonight in a crucial Game 5 for both of these teams. A 2-2 series, the only 2-2 series in the NBA right now. The closest series so far of the first round. And honestly, probably arguably the most entertaining series so far. We saw in game one, it came down to overtime. It came down to crucial defensive plays by Russell Westbrook. Came down to crucial rebounding and shot making from the Denver Nuggets as they came back from 17 points down in game one. Game two, it was the elite shot making of Kawhi Leonard. We remember him finishing with either 38 or 43 points. One of the two. It's a 5-point swing regardless. But he shot 15 of 19 from the field. 4 for 7 from 3-point range, only missing one shot from inside the arc, only taking 5 free throws in the game, and ultimately the Clippers winning game 2. And honestly, what was a great game. Great game, vintage Kawhi Leonard. It felt like I was watching the Toronto Raptors of 2019 with Kawhi Leonard and Kyle Lowry being, James Harden being Kyle Lowry from back in the day. This Clippers team is absolutely formidable. That's just game 1 and game 2. Game 3 is the only blowout performance that really kind of gave the edge to the Clippers because they dominated the Denver Nuggets in LA. Nothing short of domination in that one. And honestly, if the Clippers win game 5, I think the series is probably over, but we're going to get into that a little bit later in this segment. Game 3 obviously being I think it was a almost 30-point disparity. It was 117 to 83 was the final score. 34-point disparity. Just had to quick maths. But overall, and then game 4 obviously being the stellar Aaron Gordon putback dunk that had it ruffled a lot of people's feathers because, his fingers are still on the ball when he's dunking it. When the buzzer sounds, the ball is literally 4/5 of the way down into the hoop. You had to call it. If you overturn that call because his fingertips were still on the ball, barely on the ball as the ball went through the net, that there's no rule. That is one of those great. How do you even rule that? If you ruled that in favor of the Clippers and said it was over the clock, it was the buzzer sounded before he let go of the ball, by rule, I guess, if you want to go by textbook, but I was fine with the refs letting that one go. I would have been shocked if they hadn't, plain and simple. So, that lands us at a 2-2 series now. The Nuggets really stealing game 4. The Clippers coming back from 22 points down in that one and missing it by the skin of their teeth in game 4. They took Denver's best shot in game 4, responded unbelievably, and it took what I like to call in the NBA a super, honestly, do we want to call it a premier moment or do I really want to call it a bailout play? Because I think that's unfair to the Nuggets, so that's why I didn't say that immediately. I think it was just a superhuman play by Aaron Gordon. His rebounding has been unbelievable this series, and it's been a major reason why the Nuggets have had so much success in this series. It's been the rebounding of the Denver Nuggets in general, with Aaron Gordon, with Jokic, with Michael Porter Jr., who's been an underrated rebounder in this series. So, in one of the games, I believe it was game 2, he had... Game 2? It was either game 2 or game 1. He had 15 points and 15 rebounds and was a major reason why they won the game. So, this Denver Nuggets team is obviously still formidable. They still have the best player in the league. They still have Jamal Murray. They still have Michael Porter Jr., who's continuing to grow into a great two-way player in the league. They still have Russell Westbrook coming off the bench. If they utilize him, there have been moments where you're just sitting there and you're like, come on, Russ, you have to make a shot like that. You have to make this shot. You have to make that shot. But his defensive prowess, his intensity, his nature as an energizer bunny for this Denver Nuggets team is a vital factor. And that's why they keep him on the court. That's why they give him the minutes that he gets. And being able to lead that second unit off the bench to start the game, and then ultimately as the game draws on, based on matchups, based on how the game's going. If you need a defensive guy, you put in a Russell Westbrook over a Jamal Murray. If you need more of an more offensive standpoint, you put in Jamal Murray over Russ. Overall, this Nuggets team is still great. We're not counting them out. I'm not counting them out. No way. But I think if the Nuggets or if the Clippers go into Denver tonight and they pull off that win, going back to LA up 3-2, it's going to need to be a stellar performance from Jokic in Game 5. The Nuggets need to show me something if they can keep it close and they show me something else that shows whether it was like it's similar to fashion to Game 4 when the Clippers are up big, Nuggets come back, and the Clippers hit a big shot that ultimately wins the game. If it's a fashion like that, okay, I'll hold off on saying, oh, the Clippers are going to win Game 6. But if they win Game 6, like they won in Game 3 or Game 2, if they let Kawhi Leonard go off, if they let James Harden have a 30-point game, if they let Norman Powell continue, if Norman Powell plays at a high level, if Norman Powell plays like Brandon Pajimski did last night in Game 4, it's going to take. I don't know if I can count. I don't know if I can bet. If I can't pick I have to pick the Clippers. I have to say the Clippers winning Game 6. I have to. As much as I say Nikola Jokic is the best player in the league, we have seen since Mike Malone has been fired, we have seen that his numbers have taken a dip, and I took a peek at that on Friday before previewing Game 3 of this series. I'm trying to think back, honestly. Jokic finishing with 36 points. That's the most points he's scored since. This was probably game 4 of the series. Was probably the most Jokic-esque performance we've seen from Nikola since Mike Malone was fired. We haven't really seen him score over 30-plus points in a game. I believe he only scored 30-plus in one game since Mike Malone has been fired. Outside of this is number 2 now. But to score 36, 21 rebounds, 8 assists, that's more Jokic-esque numbers that we know him to have. That's the MVP candidate that we saw all regular season this year. And that's the level we know he plays at come playoff time, especially when he's going up against a guy like an Ivica Zubac that we know he eats up for lunch in terms of how his footwork, his fall-away jumper. I think it's honestly his footwork more than anything. His footwork is up on par with anybody's, probably in NBA history. So, and it's easily the best footwork in the NBA from a big man. From a big man's perspective, outside of maybe if you want to say Anthony Davis with his footwork and his shooting. But what puts Jokic over Anthony Davis is his physical, how physical and how much bigger he is than Anthony Davis. So, yeah, that's just what I think. I think Jokic is going to need to have another monster game if the Nuggets are going to have a chance in this one. Jamal Murray needs to have a better game than he did in Game 4. 13 points, 13, 7, and 7 isn't bad, but when you have Michael Porter Jr. going off for 17, you have Christian Braun going off for 17, Aaron Gordon having 14 points. I still think Aaron Gordon can be an X factor in this series. We haven't really seen the 25-point Aaron Gordon performance. Shooting performance from 3-point range, we probably have that coming down the pipe. Whether it's in this Game 5 tonight, that would be a massive time to come up if it's for Aaron Gordon. Continue being the X factor that I've seen him be. We've seen him be in NBA playoffs. We've seen it in the NBA finals. If he can be that gives the Nuggets an extra jump, and I think then if that happens, then the Nuggets win Game 5. I don't think if Aaron Gordon has a 25-point game or 20-plus point game and Jokic has a stellar performance like he did in Game 4, Jamal Murray has 17, 18 points, and the rest of the team continues to perform like they have, I don't think this that's the Nuggets at their best, plain and simple. But I don't know who to pick. I don't think I could pick anybody in this game. It's literally a 50-50 coin toss. There is no momentum. It's at home in Denver, so I guess Denver has a little bit of an edge. But you have Kawhi Leonard, who's an NBA champion, who's been to multiple championships. He's been in the league. He's a seasoned veteran. He's been in the league in on the big stage since he was a baby when he won the NBA Finals MVP back in 2014. We haven't seen him perform at a high level in the we haven't really seen him in the playoffs since 2020 outside of this year. But we still have to go at it with a clean slate. We have to give him the benefit of the doubt because he deserves that with how he's played in the regular season so far. If he reverts back to 2020 Kawhi Leonard, that's a different story now. And we'll have a different conversation probably tomorrow when we're recapping this game. But let's hold off. Let's give Kawhi Leonard some space. Give him the benefit of the doubt because he deserves it, I'd say. Let's give him a chance to prove his worth as a player, to prove his strength, his expertise, his experience. So 50-50 coin toss. I really think it's anybody's game, regardless of it being in Denver, regardless of it being in LA. This is a game 5. This is a 2-2 series, best of 3. Basically, it's a 0-0 series right now. Doesn't matter what happened in the first 4 games. It is a best of 3 now. Whoever wins 2 games first wins whoever wins 2 of the next 3 wins the series. And I still think this series can possibly go 7, but we'll see how it all transpires. It's probably going to be the must-watch. It deserves the title of biggest game of the first. It's the biggest game of the NBA playoffs so far. Absolutely, nothing comes close. So, yeah, that the biggest game of the first round, tipping off at 10 p.m. tonight. So, must-watch TV. I would highly recommend watching it. And if you don't, no worries. We're going to recap it more tomorrow. Absolutely, I promise. It is going to be one of the first segments of our show tomorrow. No questions asked. But I'm going to take one last short break. When we come back, we're going to preview the other games of the night because the NBA is absolutely spoiling us tonight with 4 first-round matchups tonight. All of them, the other ones outside of this one being 3-1 leads for 3-1 matchups. So that's why I haven't really talked about it as much. But we're going to get into all 3 of those series, see who's going to close their series, who's going to push, who's going to force a game 6. We'll get into everything and anything and talk a little bit about what's going on in the NBA and for those 3 series. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mehrob Fatemi. Getting into our last segment of the show, we're going to take a look at 3 game 5. Let me restart that. We have 3 game 5s lined up for tonight. We have 4 games, but 3 game 5s, 3-3-1 series leads outside of the Clippers Nuggets that I previewed in the last segment. We have Knicks Pistons, the Celtics squaring off against the Orlando Magic, and then the Milwaukee Bucks going up against the Indiana Pacers. Let's go top to bottom in terms of times of tip-off. First off, we have the Milwaukee Bucks and Indiana Pacers tipping off at 6 p.m. This series is probably close to a foregone conclusion, really. We have Damian Lillard, unfortunately, out with an Achilles injury, him suffering an Achilles injury in Game 4. It's going to be up to Giannis Antetokounmpo if he's up to the task. Let me just stop that. The Indiana Pacers are one of the best teams in the NBA in the Eastern Conference. They're really one of the best teams. They're one of the deepest teams in the Eastern Conference, and it's what separates them in this series. The depth of the Indiana Pacers is what gives them the edge over the Milwaukee Bucks. Even though as talented as Giannis Antetokounmpo is, we're seeing it with the Los Angeles Lakers right now with how your best player, it does not take 1, 2, 3 players, probably 1 or 2 top-heavy team players to knock off a team that's as deep as the Indiana Pacers. Similar to the Minnesota Timberwolves, when you have 7 guys, and you can go into a 7-man rotation where 7 guys deep can go 10 plus, 15 plus points in any game whenever they want. How are you going to win? It comes down to that, and it also comes down to the facilitating of Tyrese Halliburton with how he's able to facilitate that offense, play so unselfish that he spreads the ball around. He averaged close to double digits assists per game this season in the regular season. I've lamented it before on this show. He's a skinnier version of a Magic Johnson. Don't crucify me. From an offensive perspective, in terms of how he passes the ball, kind of a little bit of how he scores. We see his scoring takes off in the playoffs, but his facilitating is very Magic Johnson-esque with how he's able to spread the ball, his assist numbers. Definitely not his defense, definitely not his physicality, but his ability to make the players around him better is what puts him in that kind of sort of comparison. He's nowhere near it. He's not big enough. He's not strong enough. He doesn't play good defense enough. But passing the ball, I think and making the guys around him better puts him in that conversation. But I think I think the Pacers win this one decisively. I don't know how much energy or how motivated Giannis will be to win this game. There is a real possibility that this is Giannis's last game as a Milwaukee Buck. Based on this would be 3 straight first-round losses since 2022. 4 years removed of winning the NBA championship in 2021. And Giannis has said before, I want to do nothing other than competing for NBA championships. So wherever he goes, he just wants to go to a championship contender. And it just doesn't look like Milwaukee has the assets. And with the Damian Lillard injury, it just looks like that's not going to be in the immediate future. So we'll see how that all transpires. Giannis is under contract until 2027, and this is another conversation for another day. So I'm going to leave it on that note. I have the Indiana Pacers winning this game and moving on to face the Cleveland Cavaliers, which is a series that I have had circled on my board since I did a little bit of a playoff bracket prediction. But we'll get into that probably closer to next week, or maybe I might get into it tomorrow actually, in terms of how that series ends up going in the second round. Moving on to the next game, we have the Knicks Pistons. The Knicks going into Detroit, winning both of those games on the road. I think the Pistons have a shooting chance. I think Cade Cunningham is going to come out fiery. He's going to try and bring this series back to Detroit. This is a young team that is not going to go down. They're not going to wilt in the pressure in the moment. They're going to show up. They're going to show out. They're going to have probably their best performance of the playoffs so far. And I wouldn't be shocked if Cade Cunningham goes off for like 30 plus points. I don't know if he's going to have a triple-double, but I could see him carrying the offense. And Jalen Duren needs a comeback game. He got owned by Karl Anthony Towns in Game 3 and Game 4, specifically in Game 4. So he's gonna need a bounce back game. I think he's gonna come out with more energy. That Madison Square Garden is going to be rocking, absolutely rocking, especially in a closeout possible game for the Knicks on their home floor. They're going to be ready to go. So As much as I say the Pistons have a chance to win this game, I'm going to have to roll with the Knicks to close out this series and move on to the second round. I just think the Pistons are incredibly young. They're going to need another offensive piece to pair with Cade Cunningham, and I think if I'm the GM of this team, that is the first I'm calling any team that is. I'm calling John Morant. I'm calling Domantas Sabonis. I'm calling Trae Young, possibly, if he's still on the trade block. DeJounte Murray in New Orleans has gotten some noise. LaMelo Ball in Charlotte has gotten some noise. I'm even calling Miami for Tyler Hero's efforts, or Tyler Hero's services, if it's possible. I don't think that's possible. That's a little bit of a pipe dream, but I'm just naming names here. This team needs another offensive scorer because they have the defensive core guys. They don't have offense. They need more offense. They need an offensive floor general to just lock down and be able to relax the nerves of some of these guys. I know they're young and they're going to improve on that in the years to come. I think this team is going to be around for years to come with how young they are. But yeah, emphasize offensive need, offensive floor general for this team. And then from there, in our last game of the night, outside of the Clippers Nuggets, because that game tips off at 10 p.m., but we have the Boston Celtics squaring off against the Orlando Magic. This series, I'm pretty much in the same boat with the Indiana Pacers and Milwaukee Bucks. I think with this game being in Boston, I think Jason Tatum is going to show out. I think this team closes out with their experience. Jason Tatum, I wouldn't be shocked if he had another massive game. Paolo Banchero is going to give them their best shot. He's probably going to go off for another 30-point game. Franz Wagner is going to give them their best shot. He's probably going to go off for 18 to 25 points. But outside of that, I think this team is is probably in a worse shape, honestly, than the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons are a collectively young team with honestly just Cade Cunningham and then obviously Jalen Duren and then Asher Thompson, Isaiah Stewart. From there, it's just a young group of young team. Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., just a bunch of role players surrounded around Cade Cunningham, similar to how Minnesota's built. That is what Detroit is right now, without Julius Randle. But this Orlando Magic team, we've seen it every game. It's pretty much every game in this series. They show the graphic every time. You see Paolo with 30 points. You see Franz with 20, 25 points. And then you see a Jonathan Isaac or Kentavious Caldwell-Pope with 8 points. That has been the tail of the tape for this Orlando Magic team. They're just not deep. They're very top-heavy. Their offense is stagnant because it's rolling through really two guys. And they rely on their defense. They have one of the best defenses in the league, and I think that keeps them in games. It's kept them in games in this series. But the deciding factor in this series has been the offense. And we saw Jason Tatum go off for 9 points in the last 4 minutes of this game, outscoring the entire Orlando Magic offense. Jason Tatum with 9 points, the Magic with 7 points over the last 4 minutes of the game. And obviously the Celtics going on a run to close that game out in Game 4. I think this series is over in Game 5. I don't think, as much as I love this Orlando Magic team, their defense is so potent. They've one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. They would match up much better against the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think. But I think the Celtics are just too much for them to handle. And I think this series is most likely going to be over tonight. I'm picking the Celtics to win in 5 games. I'm basically in the same level of confidence with the Indiana Pacers in this game. The Knicks, I'm a touch below just because I think the Pistons are going to give them a run for their money. But yeah, I think the Celtics come out blazing in this one and they take this one by storm, really. So, I don't know. The Pistons, that would set up a matchup between the Celtics and the Knicks in the second round. And we'll talk a little bit about that more, probably closer to next week with whenever the second round kicks off. But yeah, 4 games set up for us tonight. 3-3-1 matchups, 1-2-2 matchup, probably the biggest matchup in the NBA playoffs so far. The most, probably, maybe not hyped up, but in terms of talent, in terms of thrilling matchup, in terms of overall talent, in terms of thrilling finishes, this series holds the title for that. So I expect nothing short. I think we're due for another one of those in Game 5. But that'll do it for me in the show. Thank you guys once again for another unbelievable show. Let's have another unbelievable day of basketball, and we'll continue to recap those more tomorrow after the game, and then preview. We have a big Lakers-Timberwolves matchup, so don't come back tomorrow for that series. That is going to be one of the more hyped up. That is going to be one of my top segments to talk about. Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe and leave a review. Whether positive or negative, it really does make a difference more than you guys think. Similar to how I talked about the chat box earlier. You guys are a big part of what we do here. Let us know what we're doing well. Let us know what we can improve upon. We want to just create the best product that we can for you guys. So overall, just let us know what we can do better, and let us know what you want to hear more of, so we can build our shows more about what you guys want to hear about. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you guys once again for another unbelievable show. We got another packed slate of games tonight. So be out there, watch some NBA playoff basketball, because this is the best time of year for basketball lovers all around the world. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your days. This is Mehrob Fatemi, the host of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, signing off. Bye-bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't